Okay, so Roxanne Lenarz began her formal training in 2019. She began the education process with Dolores Cannon's technique, live training with Julia Cannon, Dolores' daughter, at QHHT. She says her life has changed, witnessing this captivating process of guiding clients to the place within them where all answers, healing, and past lives are discovered. She's been trained in nutrition, sharing with her clients the same belief as Socrates, let food be thy medicine. I'm all about that too. As well as using Biopulsar technology, a $10,000 German-made medical device, reading auras, chakras, and your 49 organs and glands, pineal gland, and I'm all about the pineal as well, energy level. She's a hypnotist and certified QHHT practitioner. She runs Hypnosis Solutions QHHT and can be reached at hypnosissolutionsqhht.com. Minnesota MUFON, please help me in giving a big round of applause and a great big warm Minnesota MUFON welcome to Roxanne Lenarz.
Well, thanks, everybody. It's going to be fun. Okay, I want to just begin by telling you a little bit about the process with QHHT and how I get the answers. So, for example, Peter came up here a little bit ago, and he's got a lot of questions about, did this happen in my life? Did that happen? How real was this? How significant was that? And that's what I do. I find out more detail about what you think happened, because a lot of times we have these thoughts that we think something happened, but we're not sure. And this really sheds a light on it. So the process with this, and I do it in downtown Excelsior, that's where my hypnosis studio is.
It's great stuff.
And this is not a little hobby for me. I do this full time. This is all I eat, sleep, drink, everything. This is it. My whole life is QHHT. And I'm very happy to be doing it. So the process is first is the interview time, where we sit, we talk for quite a while, we get all the information out that we can, and that sets the intention for the session. So when we set the intention for the session, Source is hearing you. If you want to call it your guardian angel, your higher self, your higher power. I usually say Source, SC for short. We're on a nickname basis. So the interview time sets the intention. So like in the Bible, it says where two or more are gathered, I will be there. So this is why we do the interview time. It's very in-depth, and it takes a couple of hours. So when you come in to see me, plan on at least 4 hours. So then I do the induction. That's the relaxation part to kind of get you into that theta state. The session itself. So there's a process, and then we're going to see some of your past lives. And then I also ask your SC to do a healing for you. If there's anything you want healed, you know, you got a sore big toe or your right hip or whatever it is. Did I nail that, Peter?
It was fine.
Okay. So we're calling in your SC, your higher power, to get your past life experiences that relate to the questions that you come in with. So if you come in with, as most people, I'm going to say 80%, more than that, 85% of my clients come in with normal, regular, everyday questions like, should I move out of Minnesota? Should I start a new career? Should I get a divorce? What's the best way to raise my son? You know, he's having problems. So this is what people come in with. Then what happens is the past lives, they could have had, 30, 40, 50, 100 of them. The past lives that are exposed, that are brought up, are those that are going to get the answers. They're appropriate to getting the answers to the questions that they came in with. Because that's why you came, that's why you booked your session with me. You want to get those answers. But in between this stuff, other things come to the surface. So that's the real exciting part. Now, when the introduction, when Tom had mentioned my German-made medical device, the Biopulsar, And then with the gentleman that had been abducted, that had an implant, I asked him, I said, do you want me to test that? So with this $10,000 device that I bought, German-made medical device, I can see if you have any implants. Well, we can also hear about it during the session. That's usually when it happens. But if we want to confirm it, we can confirm it with this device that I have. And to see if it's on or off. It could be disabled. All right. So that's QHHT. And that was something that I got into to help people just with healing and helping them with their day-to-day stuff and maybe traumas in their past life. So as I'm getting started with this in 2019, officially, I'm hearing, oh, I see a ship. Well, I'm thinking it's a, the kind with a, right, a nautical vessel. And I'll say, now describe the ship to me. Well, it's got, it looks like a pirate ship, or no, it's round. So we go from there, and those are the things that I've come here to share with you all today. But my first experience was one that I can remember as a real little girl. I call it soul travel. I know other professionals call it different things, but when you leave your body and you go floating and you go somewhere and do some work or something like that, or go visiting other places, I call that soul travel. And I was doing that totally, I had no idea. I was 4 years old. So it was just happening. And when I was waking up and coming back to my room, I could see my bed, and then I would be settled down into my bed. And as a little girl, I just thought it was kind of a normal thing, but I did not like the paralysis part. I think has any of you experienced that paralysis part? Okay. So that wasn't any fun, but I had to kind of negotiate through that if I wanted to do the soul travel. That was kind of the impression that I got. But for some reason, they wanted me doing that, but I need to have a session so I can find out what that was all about, because I had forgotten about it until I was putting this together for you folks today. Then another time with my own experiences, my sister and I, and this was in broad daylight, we lived on the backwaters of the Mississippi River in La Crosse. That's my hometown. And we lived on this island called French Island. It's a pretty good sized island, but we were outside all the time, playing, hunting, fishing, fur trapping, turtle trapping, set lining, gill netting, and all this kind of stuff. So we were outdoors a lot. And one day, like I said, it was in the daytime and it was in the summertime. We were just standing on this embankment over the Mississippi area, and we saw this roundish craft come towards us, kind of slowly at first, but then it was kind of darting around a little bit, and it got close to us. I would say probably it seemed like it was about 30 feet from us, and it didn't stay very long. And when it took off, it went so fast that our eyes wouldn't track it. But it was the oval shape with a little dome on the top, but the bottom part seemed like it was a little deeper. And we were just mesmerized by it, but not for long, how teenagers are. And if I had my wits about me and thought a little bit more about it, I would have tried to recall if I changed in any way after seeing that sighting. So many people do change. They have additions, downloads, things like that. But it was just one of those crazy things that we were kind of afraid to even tell anybody about, except it was our secret. And then she has passed. My younger sister is no longer with me, so I can't be asking her these questions before this meeting. So this getting ready for this has brought up all of these things that I had really thought I had forgotten about completely. Now, I began becoming intrigued with hypnosis over, I suppose, over the last 10 years or so. And my background is I was a branch manager of a mortgage company. I was in residential real estate for a little while, but I hated that because I hated people. I hated their houses, their pets. I hated them being in my car, all of these things. And totally have been flipped around. I was so left brain and pragmatic and a leader in leadership roles that this whole thing happened when I went to my cabin in the UP for 3 years by myself with over 200 inches of snow every winter. And I really got close to nature and a lot of other things. And it just kind of, this whole thing just happened once I got back to La Crosse, my hometown. So I started studying it and got in touch with Julia, and then that you know, that whole part. So let me tell you about a gal that came in for a session. And I'll just say her first name, of course, nobody knows her. And Beth came in for a session. She's kind of from up around this area. She had her hand chopped off. All of this was gone. Her parents ran a bar and they had her doing some kitchen work, and her hand got caught in some kind of a grinder. So she just has these 2 fingers, and she came in concerned about some things and just some questions, but not related to any extraterrestrial EFT, anything like that. So in this process that I kind of listed off to you, this session and those 5 things that I do, part of that is seeing where she goes or what she sees in a past life. And what she was seeing were beings. And I have this RL for my name, Roxanne Lenarz, and then I have B and her last initial. So this is how we transcribe it, because everything is recorded, so it's absolutely accurate. So she saw these beings, and I said, these beings, what would be the main reason that she should be helping them with prosperity and trust? So I'm kind of jumping in the middle of the session here. Why help those other beings? So Source is telling her that they need help. They want her to be helping others, kind of like, you know, we do, like in mission work or light workers, just helping somebody cross the street, you know, any of this stuff. So here's what the SC said. People get lost. And then I said, yeah, people get lost. How so? They're lost. They need to get on the right track again. They need understanding. They need clarity. And I said clarity, and that they're not alone. No, they need clarity. They need to see things more clearly. We want her to see things and to make them clear, like glasses or lenses, so that she can describe them to others. Because there's a lot of things that are trying to cloud and charade and shroud the truth. Is that why you want her to make things clear? Are people being deceived? Then the SC said, beginners, they need our help. They need something. Beginners need help. Yeah, they're not necessarily kids, but they still need help as children. So do we have new beginners now here on the planet? Yes, they are amongst us. They are amongst us. They're hard to find now. This is Source. You will stumble upon them, or they'll stumble upon you. You can't identify them just by looking at them. So this is somebody that's coming in for some health issues, some family issues. You can imagine, you know, with them owning a bar all their lives. There was a lot of things. And then this comes through. And so I said, you stumble on them when you're working with them or meeting with them. And Source said, you'll just stumble on them where and whenever. You can't predict, like you can't set it up. Do they know that they're a beginner? Was my question. No. Is Beth qualified? I asked if Beth, my client, is qualified to help them. She needs to help them. What does she need to do? They need her. People on this planet need her. So it's a mutual teaching, training, and clearing. That was what I said. And everybody is going to gain from this? Yes, they need her. Well, I said then she's the right person for the job. She's been through a lot, speaking of which, now does she have implants? And I ask that of all of my clients. Has she been given some extra technology of sorts? Yes, in her upper body, in the upper, like her head or above her head. Maybe her shoulder as well. It's the upper part of her body. And what is the purpose of that? The purpose of the implant, it's different than others. We put it there because people need it. Because people need it. And what are the benefits of this that Beth has to offer? It's like lenses and clarity, perspective. And we need to see, okay, I said, or we need to see, we'll see it. If we need to see it, we'll see it. Yes. So hers is situational. They said yes. Well, and she needs to meditate. So most of the implants, when I ask if they have an implant and source says yes, and I say, where is it? For example, one of the gals I had come in, very kind of a tight-laced gal, white collar, had a high position at a company. I didn't tell her I was going to ask about the implants, and she didn't mind. But I asked if she had an implant, and they said, yes, it's behind her heart. And I said, well, why is it behind her heart? I'm thinking, maybe in her heart, love, that kind of thing. And no, it's behind her heart. I said, well, what's the reason for it being behind her heart? We're observing how humans love. So it's a lot of that. This one I brought to share with you folks because they said the word situational. It's situational. They use the word observing, and all of my clients, the source says the same words. We're observing. We're protecting, we're observing, we're studying this. It's pretty much the same handful of the same words, and all my clients are different and don't know each other. So then she needs to meditate more to get to turning on and using her gifts. Another word for implants. Then this part, she said that, I said, okay, thank you for that. Is this, and this information source is what? Where is this information coming from? What's the source of it? The ship, a circle ship is what she responded. So, and I said, like a mothership? And they said, for some reason, they didn't, they said, we can't communicate that exactly. Because I wanted to know, well, what was the name of the ship and where did it come from? So they'll say to me, we can't communicate that right now. And those are the same exact words with different clients. We can't share that right now. So what I'll try to do is ask the question a little bit differently. I can ask 3 times, Dolores said. So that's what I do. And sometimes I get deeper then. Okay, so now let's see here with Beth. If there's anything else I want to share with her here. Yeah, there's something blocking it. They couldn't share any more about the ship. Okay. So I did ask about karmic situations with her. They said that they're very concerned about making sure that atonement has been paid, or she is very concerned about that. Does she have any other karma where atonement is due? I do see some, but I'm not sure if it's in this body or her next. So that was really interesting. So I said, Okay, and then my client said, it doesn't, well, source said it doesn't look like it's going to be right now for her to have atonement for her karma. Okay, can you liberate her from any karma in this lifetime? Can you make peace with this? Source said that. And then I said, thank you for making peace with it. But we're trying to negotiate right now. We can't tell her if her karma is completely atoned. We're negotiating. And I said, thank you. I know she's really going to appreciate this. It's right between them right now. So whoever them is, they're discussing it. It's between them right now. I'm just trying to negotiate with them. And then I say, thank you. They're going back to whatever they've got to go back to get clearance. So these are all transcribed from the recordings. So I'm just trying to filter through some of this and get to the meat and potatoes of it. So they're trying to filter through, they're trying to get the answer from wherever they went to get the go-ahead. Okay, they came back. They gave me the nod and the go-ahead. So this is Source speaking through this gal's voice. It's getting put on the recorder. She doesn't have any idea what she's saying. And then I say, wonderful, she's going to be so happy now with that karma released. And I asked, what do you expect of Beth? What do you hope for Beth? What is her purpose? She knows what she needs to do. She just has to get back meditating again and she'll get her information. Okay, so that was interesting things there with Beth as well. She wanted to know which one of her children do you think is the furthest away from God connection, her son. So are you going to be, this is me, are you going to be helping her and giving him extra TLC, tender loving care? This really touched my heart when I heard this. Source said, I have to go through his people. So we can't intervene and say, hey, can you fix my husband up for me? I mean, he needs shaping up. He's leaving the clothes laying all over the place, you know, whatever. No, they have to go through them. And then I said, okay, they look like they're a little, and somehow that they didn't finish it or it was unclear. So I thought that was kind of interesting. There's a lot of communication that's going on during these sessions. It's at least an hour and a half of taping. So now I want to tell you about another one of mine. Oh, and I can only keep people under for 2 hours. So once I really am hitting the jackpot with something, I have to back off. It's just one of the rules and regs of Dolores's. It's 2-hour limit and that's it. I think it just has to do with them, you know, being able to stay grounded in that after the session. So here's what happened to me one rainy spring day about, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. So I have this cop that calls me and he says, I want to come in for a session and I've got this and that I want to talk to you about. I was a police officer in Texas and now I'm back here and, you know, just some regular stuff. He says, but I do have this interest in Bigfoot. And I said, oh, Bigfoot. Okay. And I said, we'll ask, you know, I didn't say, I don't know anything about Bigfoot, but I hadn't had any experiences with that, with other clients, but I said, okay, Bigfoot. Well, then I got really kind of thinking about this and my mind was like, oh, I was getting real interested in it. And so before he came in, I contacted the hypnosis forum and that's 1,000 of us online and we can plug questions in there, situations we've had and get advice. So I got a hold of this guy, George Deuceman, out in Washington. I still have him on my phone. I listen to his voice. So George, I called George and he said, well, hey, do you want to contact a Bigfoot? And I'm like, sure. And he said, well, are you sure? And I said, yes, I'm absolutely sure. I got this cop coming in. I said, I want to really impress him, you know? So let's do it. What do you got for me, George? What do we do? So I'm on my phone this rainy spring afternoon. He's in Washington State. He's an ex-military guy. And he does this tapping stuff. And he's saying these words. And he tells me to, and I have all of those words in my tablet at home, but he tells me to kind of wrap my arms around myself and say these other words. And then all of a sudden, I saw 2 Bigfoot in my mind's eye. And a number of my clients have said that I'm a remote viewer, and I would love, and I'm putting this out here, I would love to have somebody prove that for me and test me or do whatever you got to do. But a lot of people say it, but it's just an informal thing. Hey, I think you're a remote viewer. But this case, this situation with George, I will never forget it. So I see a big one, and then I see a little shorter one. And I said, hello. I said, can you hear me? And they're like, yes. The one said, yes, I understand you. And I said, is that your son? No, that's my woman. And then I got his name. I can't even read this right now, you guys. I got the whole thing written down here, and I'm so emotional about it that I can't even read it. So I'm going to try to recall it all. So what happened was I started just visiting with them, how is life for them? I mean, I was like ecstatic, and I'm nervous about it. And I'm like, well, what do I say? What do I ask? And George says, well, I'm going to get the tape recorder. So he started recording it right away. And then, so George got this all recorded. There was such a loving feeling that I absolutely can't describe it. It stayed with me like this pink love cloud for days after this. And it was immediate. It was quicker than when I do a session with a client. The answers were coming just like that. And I was getting it telepathy, that word. And I could see the setting. They were in the trees, and they were expressing a lot of love to humans, but that we can't come up that much anymore, they said, because of the humans and the guns and that sort of thing. But we love humans. They were just it's mostly all about this loving. So let me just see here if I can. Yeah, the aura of love was just the biggest thing I can remember. And then with George recording everything, George was just as excited as I was. And that's when they said, we want to express our love towards you and humans. And when he said that, I'm kind of reiterating, I actually felt it, and I began to tear up and was really shaken by it. And so was George on the other end of on the other phone. I have a message on my phone from George about retrieving the recording. And soon after that, George died. So if I can get somebody technical that can somehow help us retrieve a Zoom recording of that whole thing. But it was primarily just a lot about love and how they're going to be hoping for the best for us so that we can have life as it used to be, where Bigfoot was among us more so, and that we weren't afraid. Okay, so now we got, let's do Jen here. Jen was on March 20th. So I grabbed Jen's. So Jen came down off the cloud and she saw red ground immediately. No, red dust. This might even be Mars, she said. The structures are interestingly tall, very tall, steep buildings. There's just a few, but they're tall and they're very steep and they're dark. They have a white door. Then I took her to an important day. This is something I do with all my clients. So many beings gathering, bringing together everyone's energies for the purpose of creation to the fertile grass and trees and creating. There was evidently, and she described this, some little area there on Mars, we determined that, where they could have their gatherings so that they could do, the beings could get together for singing and chanting. I know we are harnessing intention. Some are in a big circle. A leader, elder woman is a healer for those struggling with harnessing their energy to physical action. So this is a gal who, just a regular gal coming in asking questions. Is my boyfriend going to ask me to marry him? And then this all comes out. So they want to harness our energy, those that were there, those beings, to physical action. Example, bring rains to the land, or moving water, or bring specific energy. It's important now because this planet is still being created. There are some aspects here that we brought in, but more needs to be created, and the energy needs to be focused to bring more creation to the planet. Trees have been brought in, and some lake-type bodies of water. This is her speaking. So, this isn't her language. She doesn't talk like this. The ground isn't quite settled. There's that red dust, and there is a lot of open and barren space. There are houses. Beings all have the same or similar structures to our bodies. There is not a lot of diversity physically among us. We almost look like red, like the ground, mixed with orange and brown, and we have long hair and long flowing clothes. So I asked her about an important day. I see myself being placed with beads around my neck, and these wise ones are instructing me, and I'm preparing to practice with the element of fire. I feel young here, and I feel young here now. The beads' purpose, I asked, what's the purpose of the beads, evidently, aids me in focusing and power, made of wood, very ornamental. The results from instructions, they give her instructions on how to use the beads. Ultimately, I am able to experiment and work with elements of earth, water, fire, and ether, able to have an effect with them. There will be physical elements shaping other realities to come. So this is Source telling her that she has been given these gifts and this implant to help affect physical elements with water, fire, and ether. So then I asked, when can we expect these realities to come to Earth? And then rather casually, they said, well, it's always the potential. It was as if they didn't have high hopes. Create, or I said something about can they create or make changes? Yes, there are ebbs and flows of destruction and creation, but with more intent and focus using the elements, there will be more creation than destruction. Well, that's good news. And then I said, I thought everything on Earth was already created. There's so much more to be created. There are elemental foundations, but with knowledge of using the elemental foundations, more can be created. So here's this girl. I mean, if you can kind of picture yourself there with me, listening to this girl that comes in, wants to know about her boyfriend, and all of this stuff is coming about, bettering the planet. Why is it important? This is my question. Why is it important to move here on Earth? Because there's more possibilities, more experiences, more to learn and see. So they're coming back and forth. They're definitely among us. Another important day, she was very sad. She started tearing up. A storm is coming. It's a very powerful storm. It's a serious storm. And I said, well, what was the result? Flooding, and there's lightning. The lightning is destroying our houses and our trees and our little oasis-like place we made. What we've been able to create is being destroyed. She had a lot of sadness. She got real panicky in the chair. I've got in my recliner. And the leaders are deciding now what to do. And then I said, oh, looks of leaders, tall, strong. Oh, I said, what do the leaders look like? She said, they're tall, strong men and they're very tall with tall, shiny hats. Or their hair is like similar to the roofs of the buildings. She had described the roofs of their houses were very tall and very pointed. Maybe that was so the dust could come off easily. I'm not sure. But she said their hats matched the top of the houses. The higher the hat or the hair, the more they were connected to source or their higher beings. Let's see here. So the area was destroyed. Their patch of life that they used for gatherings was destroyed. And I asked her, I thought of gatherings, well, is there food there? I said, well, what do you eat? Oh, we don't. It doesn't seem like we eat much food. We have herbs and seeds. So I was under the impression that this could have been a past life, but then maybe a parallel life or a future life. And that gets closely determined as we get more information during the session. Now here's one. This gal, Amelia, long session where there were about 25 pages with, no, there were 31 pages with the transcription, but I've only got a few of them here. So she saw when she came off the cloud, she saw a lizard. No, it's a dinosaur. It's very big. He's got big feet, big claws on his feet. And I said, claws. Did he even notice you were there? That was me. She says, he doesn't see me. He's very rough looking, very hard. Like armor, like alligator skin, armor type skin, very bumpy. And she's describing him. And he's eating the grass. And then I said, look down at your feet. What are you wearing on your feet? Oh, she's barefoot. And what is your clothing like? My skin, I have skin. It's like the skin of an animal. And then I asked her again, animal skin? She says, yes, and it looks like I said, are you wearing any ornamentation of any sorts or carrying anything? She said, well, yes, I have something around my neck. It's like a rock necklace. It's small. It's just a pretty rock necklace. I said, does your body feel male or female? She said, male, young, healthy. And then I said, very good. Now let's go to the place where you live, where you eat, where you sleep. She says, it's a cave. And I said, a cave, go inside, describe the cave to me, describe everything you're seeing. She said, they're hiding in here. We can hide in here anywhere. We're hiding. And then she said, now I see hides. And I said, animal hides? She said, no, there's paintings on the walls. There are animal paintings on the walls. And then we go through, see, I've got her going through the cave. She's saying sometimes it's scary because these big animals come by, but this is our protection. When they try to get us, we have to go away back in the cave. Do you know? I said, do you know your way back there? Yes. I said, who taught you about the cave? This old man. He's got long stringy hair and he walks with a stick. Is there anything special deep into this cave? Anything interesting? There's rocks that light up. Why would they light up? I said, it's very dark, she said, when you walk through, but there's light. There's light in the back. And she was very unclear about where this light was generated from. And you bring this torch-like thing, a stick with fire on it, and you go in and it lights everything up really big. And the colors, the lights are blue, purple, and green. It's not like lights in our homes today. Lots of drawings of stick people. Some are people that live further down the valley, she said. And the others have helmets. So then she says, the helmet people, they live in the sky. And then I said, they live in the sky? And I said, do they love you? Do they care? And she said, yes. I said, how do you know? Because they try to help us with the dinosaurs. And what do they do to help you with the dinosaurs? They throw, and it was a big pause. They throw, I think it's a beam of light, and that stops them. It hurts them, and they run away. Oh, I said, that's nice. They help you. I suppose there's incidences, though, where the dinosaurs harm people. They eat the people they catch. It was really nonchalant. And I said, they eat them. And how does that make you feel? I'm scared. I don't want to be eaten. Have you seen this happen? I asked her. Yes. Who was eaten that you saw? A man and his boy. They didn't run fast enough. I see lots of people. Now I'm kind of skipping through this a little bit here. Okay, so then we have, she sees, I jumped ahead to an important day. And she says, I think I'm seeing a man. It's a lizard man. The lizard man, I said. And how do you feel about the lizard man? He looks scary. Is he there for good, I asked, or evil? He's there for good, but there's some that are not. I said, kind of a mix. And she said, a little bit further down, they take people. So I'm not sure what that meant, but I said, they want to take people. And she said, they want to take people back with them. And she said, I think they eat them. But she said, no, she said, it's to work. They need workers. She said, I think it's underground. So I said, underground. And what do they do for work underground? They gather plants. Yes, it's big plants. These leaves are thick. They look like a big aloe vera plant. That's very spiky on the edges. I think that's blue, but mostly green. And I said, these workers, do they grow the plants and harvest the plants? Yes. And what's life like? They're underground working. She said, it's not too bad. There's light, but I don't know where the light comes from. And I asked her, there's light underground, just like in the cave. And I said, who's running the show underground? Who's running the operation? She said, a big, tall, he looks like a dinosaur, but he's on two legs. I said, he's kind of a dinosaur type person. She said, yes, but he walks and talks our language and he has horns. Okay, I said, and he keeps everybody working? She said, yes. And then I moved her again to another important day because see, I've only got 2 hours or less to do this. So I can't be diving in on, okay, what kind of plants, what are you going to do with them? How do you actually grow them? You know, all of these questions that I have happening all at one time. I've got to really pick and choose. She says, she said, because I moved her to an important day. She says, I think there's a burial going on. And I said, the burial, she says, I think it's me. I'm really, really old. I said, yes. And there's others around? She says, yes. And I said, well, you must have been very loved if there's others around. She said, I had kids. And I said, what caused your death? What happened? A rock fell on me. A rock. Now what? Okay, so then I moved her again because she evidently, let's see here now. I asked her life has a purpose. And what was the purpose of that life being there among the dinosaurs? And she said, to get to know the dinosaur looking people, to assimilate us to seeing more and more. And then Source said, well, then I said, did you learn if they were Earth creatures or did they originate from another planet? She said, I think they came here from a different planet. Okay, and what did you learn? Appearances, she said. If you look scary, you're not really scary. The big guy, he wasn't scary. He had a mean attitude, but he was really friendly. So my point with sharing this part is the benevolence of any of the ones that I've been told about through hundreds of sessions. They're all here to help us. And then I had her float away because she died. She could float away and go back to, oh, okay. So she could float away and go back to the spirit side. So after you have a past life, then I see how you died. Then I have you go to the spirit side or back home. That leaves the door open, you know, to where is home for them. So she's saying here, I see lots of water. Lots of plant life. I'm skipping over a bunch of my questions here. And she says, I said, do you notice any beings? And she said, yeah. She said, I see a cat. And I'm thinking, you know, she's at home. She's got her house cat. And I say, look at your body. What does your body look like? And this is something I always ask. When they land somewhere, I say, now, what are you wearing? What does your body look like? You know, a man, woman, you know, whatever. She says, my body, I look like I'm a cat. And I said, you're a cat. She said, yes, I've got a tail. And and she was really unclear, really hesitant. She says, and she was kind of him-hawing, I've got whiskers and pointy ears. And I said, I bet you're a beautiful cat. And she said, see if you notice a leader that can show you around and guide you. Oh, she said, there's all kinds of cats here. Lots of cats. And she said, this guy looks like a Mayan, but he walks on 2 feet. He looks like he's also a cat type being. And I said, okay, ask him what planet this is. She said Nairobi. And I said, well, he must have more information for you. She said, yes, there's more planets with more cats. But she says, I'm having difficulty learning how to sit. And I was kind of wondering, what was she talking about? She's, I've got this tail. And I'm just having difficulty with this tail and sitting. And then she sees, let's see here now, learning how to sit. Okay, I suppose that would be a lesson number 1, I said to her. I said, what are these cats most gifted in? She said, jewelry. They like shiny stuff. They're making jewelry, rubies and emeralds and making different things. And I said, what do these cats know about jewels? I don't know, but there's a mine, a cave mine where they collect it. They collect them in the cave, I said, and she was a little unclear, but then she said, there's a spaceship and the spaceship is collecting the gems from us. So I said, trading happens. She said, trade for food and material. What kind of material? She said, it looks like clay, but it's not clay. I said, what's the purpose of it? It's to make our houses. Put in some place to mix it with something. They can make a house from this. I said, and do the cats then live in the house? And she said, yes, for shelter. So on and on we go, more and more about the food and the protein they need. And I said, and this resting place, this home where you're at, I said, is there more information about this leader? She said that he is a lion type cat. And then when I got home, that after the session, I went to Gaia.com, which is a fabulous resource. And Gaia.com, I put in cat planet. Well, it came up feline planet. It's official. There's a feline planet. There's pictures and everything there. So the things that she was describing and the landscaping and whatnot, it was really, really fun and interesting and shocking as well. So let's see here now. Okay, this one here. Same gal now. Okay, next life. She's in the desert. I think it's Egypt, she says. And I said, Egypt. Okay, look down at your feet. What are you wearing? My feet are hooves. Hooves? I said, and your body, what does your body look like? I'm part horse and part man. I said, horse and man. Yes, anything special about your owner? Do you have an owner or are you free? I said, I'm free, but I have to hide. And I said, well, why must you hide? I'm not normal. I should not be man and horse. And how did you become man and horse? In an experiment. There was no hemming, hawing, or anything about that. It was an experiment that they were doing on a number of beings there. So I said, who did the experiment? I want to say it's big. It's big, tall people. They're tall and they're shiny. I said, are they human-like or more alien-like? Alien-like. Okay, I said, and why would they do experimental work like this? She said, just to see if they could do it, real nonchalant. So this is Source answering all of my questions through her voice, okay? So then I say, just to see, so they were kind of like scientists. Yes, scientists, wondering if they could merge the two, and they did. Ah, and how did you feel about that? I was not happy. I said, well, was it the horse side of you that was not happy or the man side? She said, the man side. What was your life like? It was very hard. I broke free and I hid. Were there others, I asked, that were found hiding as well? She said, a few. So I said, so you weren't too lonely? And she said, no. And let's see here, what else? Another important day. Oh, I see the scientists. They reversed it on someone. She was real excited about this. They reversed it. And there was a lot of anticipation about maybe that they would reverse the process on her. And then she said, the man died. It didn't work. The reversal process didn't work. So you get an idea of the gamut of things that have taken place and that are maybe even going on in a parallel universe. And some of this could even be, you know, sounds like Greek and biblical characters that we've seen. So we go on and on here about her having to, you know, many experimenting. I said, any roles that you played in this experimenting, or were you sort of a victim? She says, I was a victim. I didn't listen. I didn't do what I was told. I said, well, what were they telling you to do? To work harder and no rest. And I asked, what was the work? She said, I'm working in a field. We have to produce and we have to gather more food and we get no rest. And she was very grumpy about that. And why did they need so much food? I said. She said, I don't know. Were there a lot of beings to feed? She said, yes. And I asked her, what did they primarily look like? She said, they looked human, but a funny color, burnt orange. Yes, burnt orange. I don't think they're from here. And I said, well, what planet were they from? I don't know, but they're like refugees. So there's a lot of conglomeration of a lot of different beings congregating at these same places. I've run across that quite a bit too. Because they've got a lot of work to do on these planets, whether they're warring. I had one Hmong woman come in and all of her past lives were warring as an alien, and how they would do that. They wanted to just take over these other planets. Okay, so okay, to try to be more, so she was trying to be more helpful and not to resist the work so that she wouldn't be put to death. So she didn't want to risk, so she says, I'm not going to resist the work. Maybe I'll get more organized, she said. And I asked her, well, why? And she said, to help other people from other planets. Just being a friend, she said, they're scared, they're different. Their food is different. It looks like corn, but it's not corn. We had to grow it and to work fast because more and more were coming. I said, like refugees coming? Did you have a title there or a name they called you? she says, I want to say Louise. She says, but I'm just a worker. So a lot of things happened with her. Okay, so then I asked Source a question. I said, she'd also like to know if she's had a past life with her mother. And she and her mother had a not, let's just say not a very close relationship at all. And we were told by Source that Amelia picked her mother. She picked her mother as a vessel so that Amelia could come to this earth. So that was really cool. Now, let's take a little question. Oh, and by the way, this person is a guest here today. And if you want, she's already given permission if you want to visit with her or ask her any questions about any of this. Does she want to raise her hand? So Amelia will answer any of your questions when I'm done here. And we're doing good on time. Okay, so let's see here. I gotta kind of see what we got here for. Okay, so here is a gal, my client named Josie. So she was, I said, okay, where are you at? What are you seeing? What are you wearing? I'm wearing a leather dress. I've got red beads on and I have a pouch with herbs to help others. She's a seer and a teacher. She sees this woman and I said, who is she? She says, it's the grandma energy. She's the seer and she's the teacher. Then I asked this spirit guide, I just was taking a stab at it, if the grandmother energy was a spirit guide. And I said, I asked the guide then to come forward with a gift for Josie. And so she came forward with a box. I said, open the box. What is in the box? It's a feather. She gave me a gift. It's a feather. It signifies guidance. And the message, you are strong, keep going to the finish. And the eagle said, she is love and can feel the caring and trusting of Source, and she is very important to us. So I hear those same words a lot too. You are very important to us. She is very important to us, or he is very important to us. So when people come in for these sessions, what I've discovered is that they must be guided in, because why do I got, half of these people talking about spirituality and UFOs and ETs and IDs and star beings and all of these things. They really want these people that are coming in as clients to be helpers. They were assigned that, but they want them to be turned on so that they realize who they are and that they can get out there and share the message, for the disclosure. Now, this with Josie, she had a death after she was in a carriage. She was a male at that time. She was hauling hay to the Lord. You don't make this stuff up. I said, well, what era was it? She says, it's the 1500s, Yugoslavia. And now I'm on the carriage. She was walking next to the carriage earlier. Now I'm on the carriage and I'm so happy. She was so happy. She said it was like she was riding off into the sunset. But then I took her to an important day after that and she died. It was a carriage accident. It injured her leg from falling off the carriage and it ran over her. It trapped her. She lost a lot of blood and I'm alone, she said. And so that was the death part. So then I said, okay, so you've died, let's go. back to home or back to the spirit side, wherever you want to go. And I said, how is that all going? And she says, I'm floating, I'm drifting, I'm going up. I said, are you being welcomed there? And she said, yes. I always ask if you're being welcomed. I've had 2 people say, no, I'm not being welcomed. So they weren't welcomed in heaven. She sees a white man. She describes him as a white man and like a spirit guide looking. And I asked him to I said, now be curious and, have him show you around, see what he can show you. So she says, I see like a blue structure. It's the shape of a bubble, a blue bubble structure. She notices, let's see here now. She says it's for protection. It keeps what needs to be kept in, and what needs to be kept out. She says, I notice how clean it is here. It's so clean. And the blue, I can see through the blue. It's transparent, but it's protection. It's strong enough for protection. Let's see. Oh, she says, as I'm walking closer to it, I didn't notice this, but there's an opening. There's a door. The door appears. It just slides open. It didn't even look like a door. It's a ship, she says. And I'm inside. And I said, explore around, see what you can see. I see, do you see others? I see a mantis. That's her first greeting. I see a mantis. And they're showing me, and she isn't even scared or, upset about it. No, I see a mantis. And they're showing me a technology screen, a type of screen. The mantis are sharing with me their plan. I said, what's the plan? She said, they want me to be a connector, a bridge. Josie can fill the gap from earth to, and then I didn't get the word. It was discombobulated in the recording, and it wasn't there once I re-listened to it. So what else? I said, so what does your body look like? She says, I'm blue. I am blue. And it's already done. Yes, it helps that planet's evolution, soul's evolution. What's your role in this? And she said, to be here, and even if to scratch the surface. This was Source's words through her voice. Even if it's to scratch the surface in soul's evolution. There's a lot of spirituality with these meetings with Source or ETs or IDs, all of these beings. So do these beings have earth ties to humans? That was my question. Yes. And what is the being's name? I said. She said, Surlean. I said, spell it. She said, Cuerlean. And she said, we're from the star planet. And she couldn't pronounce it. And I said, well, just spell it. She said, well, the first letter is Z. So that's all we got with that. And what are their concerns, if any? She said, peace and harmony. Now, another situation with Josie that she came in with a question was, in this lifetime, there was a episode of missing time. So Josie and her sisters and mom were in the car in a field. And I asked Source, I said, what was this all about, this missing time and with Josie and her sisters and mom? Oh, we're just doing a checkup, balancing their energy. Did they do anything to your body? I asked her. Not physically, but energetically. Are there any implants? Yes, there's one in my nose. I said, what is the purpose, Source, of this implant in her nose? It's for tracking and for obtaining earth information. I said, does mom and sister also have implants for tracking? Yes, we're keeping tabs on the family because of their ties to ET families. Is this all for the better purpose? Yes. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else here. Here was one where I asked, did she have a past life with her daughter? And they said, we can't answer that at this time. So some of these questions, they just say the same thing. We can't answer it at this time. And I'll say why, and they'll say, it'll affect her life now, her current life. So we can't share any more information. Then Josie had the past life in Atlantis, where she used gems and she used them in a positive way, energy and healing and creating. And it just so happens that in this lifetime, Josie has a very prosperous business and active business in making very unique jewelry with stones, very beautiful things. But she had a past life also as a ruler, a patriarch. And if you knew Josie, she would never come up with this. She's really shy. She would never get up to the podium. It's just totally opposite personality. And I said, well, what is her purpose for being in Egypt as a patriarchal ruler? And they said her purpose for the thread of unity. The thread of unity. I mean, who talks like that, you know? Gifts or soul sparks. She can see. She's clairvoyant. So that came through. And then, do you guys know about David Wilcock? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it just so happened that Josie went to this conference where David was at. And she was just curious. So what was this deal? I felt this really weird feeling around, you know, when I went to this conference and then I saw David, but I had something was going on. And so I asked, okay, Source, what was this all about? David was avoiding her. And I said, well, why? He didn't want to deal with it. And he didn't want to deal with it. Something with his current life. His wife is a handler. She was keeping David under her thumb because he knows too much. Yeah. Josie would have opened, this is Source speaking, Josie would have opened the door and did, whatever all that means. A friend helping a friend. David from a past life, which was about spirituality. Okay, something with David in his past with spirituality. David and Josie's connection was spiritual involvement in a past life. She was then to help David, or she was there to help David, and it was a success. The spirit, the guides were in on this. She was a catapult for David. And then we know the rest of that story. David got a divorce from this woman. I wasn't really tracking any of it, but somebody over here knows the David Wilcock story. Okay, so where are we at now? We're at like 4:25. Okay, let's do some questions. Anybody got any? Yeah.
I'd like to get your take on this. A lot of people that say reports of dying and coming back, and people that aggressive medically say the same thing, that there's an agenda. And like some people have like severely traumatic experiences in their lives. And I even heard that somebody did something bad to somebody. I'm not going to say it now, but somebody did something bad to somebody and they were pre-planned to do that because they were family. And we have learned lessons. What's your take on that? What have you heard from clients about that?
Well, there's a couple of things there intermixed.
I even heard that when I found my member in Star Wars, I had understood that even people have been abducted under hypnosis, they say it was pre-planned, it was part of our path in life, was to
Yeah.
have these abductions, so.
Right.
Kind of curious what's your take on that, where did you heard about that?
Well, in all of Dolores's books, 27 books, I've read 17 of them so far. And I forgot to show this one too.
Actually, I met Dolores here years ago,
Yeah, oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
So anyway,
Right.
she's always said that before we came down here, let's just say we were in heaven or on the ship, wherever your home was. We have these lessons planned that we need to learn because this is the Earth School. So whatever you have experienced on this life primarily are things that you've chosen that you wanted to experience or needed to have a life lesson about. And it was primarily your choice, but there's a lot of encouragement too. So we have to take responsibility for our own behaviors. We can't be blaming our mom and dad or ex-husband because we brought all of these things on to experience it, because it really is just a planet of learning and experiencing. It's probably holographic because all of these 100,000 hypnotherapists are recording every single session. They all say pretty much the same thing. We're observing, it's a school of learning. She chose this. She doesn't have to hate her mother anymore. She can just let this all go. And it can be such that, well, primarily that they are wanting us to be helping each other. So it's a lot of it's about learning and loving and forgiving, that whole cycle, that circle. Coming back to the love piece. Did I answer that? Okay.
I've heard too that, you choose what happens to you.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
Yeah, you choose your parents, typically, at least one of them. Here's a couple of mind blowers I've had. Let's see if they still are. Oh, I shared this already. When the same words are used and the same messages are given from totally unrelated clients. That's the part that I've just come to get used to now, because it's all coming from the same source. When the SC, oh, they direct a message to me. When the SC, no, I don't remember that one. Okay, so these messages often feel like they're coming from an alien because they keep saying we're observing. And here's what happened to me. When I was asking my clients, okay, have you ever seen any aliens, ETs or IDs? All of a sudden, they said, we prefer you not calling us aliens. Yeah.
What do they prefer?
They prefer ETs, IDs, or star beings, or yeah, the like. Nothing, they don't like alien, that word alien.
I was gonna say, so I read a fair amount of Dolores Cannon's work as well, and she does reference, or it seems like a lot of the information that comes through is in regard to this shift in like 3 dimensions to 5 dimensions on Earth. And
Yeah,
I was just curious if you have come across any insight from, obviously her work is a little bit older, and so I'm just wondering if there's any additional insight you can share about that for people that you have interviewed.
well, what the conclusion that or the realization I think that I have made is that there are these different dimensions, but we can be in those right now. It just depends on what you are, who you are, what you are about, what your spiritual practices are. If you're really, really into it, like let's say, as an example, you've got the women that go into the nunnery. They're really, really serious about getting close to God. And that's how they devote their lives, or monks. So I have a guy coming in on Sunday because he always, since he was 8 years old, wanted to be a monk. Since he was just a little guy. So he's coming in. So I'm just saying that because we need to have our spiritual practices, your daily things, whatever they are. You're reading, you're meditating. I do Qigong every single day, except the days I don't. like when I went out to Mount Shasta. And so you want to get some spiritual practices going and be serious, really serious about your meditation, no matter what kind it is, because that's when you're going to get your connection and you're going to get your information, and it's going to feel like you're on the fifth because you're receiving stuff. And your life is different than what you see on TV. And your interests are different. Okay, another thing that set me back in my chair was my clients seeing orbs in my studio. So that'll happen. We also saw one that kind of swished between us down the middle of the room and kind of behind her. And then there was the time when I was on my walk every single day. Well, I walk 2 miles every day. But I was house sitting for my sons in Chaska. My one son was on the pipeline and the other one was on Deadliest Catch. And I would walk from Chaska from downtown up the hill through the cemetery, because there was a hill. I thought I'd get more exercise that way. Come down, go back to the house. I did that every day, sometimes twice a day. So this one afternoon, I was kind of tired. I thought, I'm just kind of tired. I'm going to lay down. And it's a sunny day. So I lay down on my bed, and you know, when you're in the theta state, just when you're thinking about falling asleep, I'm like, oh yeah, I think I'm dreaming. I think I am. I'm falling asleep now because I'm starting to dream. I see something over in my peripheral over here, and it's a box. And I'm like, you know, I'm doing this kind of talk with myself in my mind because I think I'm having a dream. So I'm kind of examining this box, and well, what is this black box? What's in there? And I thought it was a small black refrigerator, but it got a little bit bigger, and then this thing came out of it, this black thing, kind of wispy, floaty, and it was a male entity of sorts. And by this time, it's broad daylight, like I said, and I am curious, scared and curious at the same time. And I'm like, well, this is working for me, okay, because I can examine and look at this and see, well, what is it? What's going on? What am I seeing here? This black and gray wispy male. Well, then he comes over to me, and just that fast, and he's on top of me, not the lower half of my body. This part, my chest, my lungs, and I could not breathe. I absolutely could not breathe. I swear to you, I thought I was going to die. And I couldn't even think of that or speak about it for a few years after that because I was too scared. I thought the thing was going to come back. But the pressure was so strong on my chest that I really, really, really thought it was going to take over me and I was going to die and I would be gone. And then I remembered from the movies and things, you know, I remember, okay, what do I do? I don't have a cross. Okay, I'll say Jesus's name. I just had to come up with something. Plus I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. So I just said Jesus's name 3 times. And then, yeah, that was one of the paralysis experiences. And then the thing just dissipated. It just left me.
How did you know it was male?
I just knew. I could tell. I think he had a hat on too. Now, another, a client of mine had during the session, and I don't want to scare anybody into not coming in, but it was really it was positive, but it was a first for me. So the client is talking about all kinds of different things. You know, we're going through the regular session, and I look over at her and I see, you know, on the highway when the air kind of is shimmery, and I'm looking at her and out of her mouth is this like shimmering, this much shimmering. And I'm like, oh God, you know, so I'm going like this here with my eyes. I'm adjusting my glasses. I take my glasses off and I'm continuing on because I don't want to lose track and have her wake up. So I'm looking at this thing. This lasted for 45 minutes. It came out more and hovered quite close to her body, her face, more and more. It was coming out, coming down here. And by the time 45 minutes, there was this little cloud here. It kind of got white and wispy and still shimmery and glittery. not glittery, but just shimmery and shiny. And I asked, it was a spirit that it was just time for it to go. There was no more drama, it just dissipated, it was just gone. So that was, and I did not have my phone next to me. And now I always have my phone next to me. Yeah,
I'd like to make an appointment. How do I reach out to you and how much does it
it's
generally?
$425. Most times, they all charge over 500, usually over 600. But I charge $425 because I get a lot of 20-year-olds in. Yeah, and I really like to do the young people too. And I take HSA, health savings. And my card and brochure is at the end of the table. So you go online, pick your best day and time, and then you can pay with HSA, the card, or cash when you come in, and plan on 4 hours. Because it's a big ordeal.
I do have a couple follow-up questions real quick.
Sure.
Do you always tend to get the source? Are people always
Open to it?
well, challenge? Do you always end up having
Oh, yeah.
channeling going on?
Oh, yeah.
You're-
Definitely.
Every time.
Yeah.
And it's
I-
always the same
well,
source? Is it kind of like a collective?
I think it's a collective, because I put that out to the forum. And it can be, maybe grandma could show up. It can be your guardian angel. It can be a spirit guide that you don't even know their name, but I can find out what the name is generally. I've had a couple people come in with hangovers. And that didn't get so far. We didn't get too far with it. So I can't remember if 100%, but it's like 99%. Yeah, we always reach some entity, some loving being, always. And it can be 2, 3, 4 at one session. Yeah,
Do you ever get premonitions of the future at all? And
yeah. Definitely. Not that often because my direction is to the past, but then they make it obvious. Yeah, they make it obvious that it's something in the future that they want us to get ready for, to be ready for.
You ever got any feedback that the past and present and future happen at the same time?
There's
from your clients?
There's been some mixing of it too, in some cases. Yeah, we try to figure that out sometimes in the post part of the session. Was that a parallel life? Am I doing that now too? You know, it just comes up periodically, not that often, but
Yeah. I had
I can direct it though, too. I mean, if you want to come in for a future one, I can do that too.
I had a hypnotic depression once. I remembered a past life in England. I remembered some dates and facts that happened in history that I didn't know about consciously. And girl that I knew through work, make a long story short, I said she was in that incarnation.
Mm.
You know, I said, we're looking over the cliffs, and I Googled it, and I Dover, England, is where the cliffs are.
Mhm.
So I always wondered if I ever went there in person, if I would feel like I'd been there before.
Now, see, this information, it isn't, in the pit of your stomach. It isn't in the deepest crevices of your brain. It's in the quantum. So like when my client came in, the sister of one of the 2 Asian girls that were murdered last summer, chopped up, dismembered, they found them in ice chests and then in storage lockers. One of the sisters came in because of the trauma. So then we went to, I asked, has this Joseph Jorgensen ever done this before? And we got, yes. I said, how old was he? A teenager, I think they said 16. And I said, well, how did this begin? Something about a hateful family. I'd have to get, my transcription to have the exact words. He started though, but Source started explaining more. He started on animals. Then he went to children. And now as an adult, and they've got him jailed now. And I said, well, are there any other bodies that we haven't found? And Source said, yes. And they started to tell me where. They told me 35W south, down by the river, go under the bridge. and it is very decomposed, but it's there. So the detective on this, we contacted them, and one of them called me back when I happened to be at the Arboretum, totally in the zen, you know. So this cop calls me, detective, and says, now, how do you know this information? I says, well, doesn't everybody, I mean, it's in the quantum. All the information is in the quantum, the Akashic records. And he's like, what? And I said, yeah, you can find out any of this stuff. And I said, that's what I do. It's hypnosis. It brings it forward. It brings it forth because we can't handle most all of it. So he never did call me back for an appointment.
What you're getting on everybody's list.
Yeah, I've always been curious, since you were talking about bringing the information forward. Just as a curiosity, if there's ever been a time, whether, I guess more maybe perhaps in human history, where because they say that like 90 or 95% of your brain is subconscious and 5 or 10% is conscious. But
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if there was ever a time, maybe when there wasn't so much trauma, then there was a greater portion of your brain that was actually conscious. Maybe it was 50-50. You know what I mean?
I think it just, it's all in the subconscious, and we don't want to bring up this stuff. And it's difficult to, and I'll tell you why. I just got the answer. It's difficult because our ego is there to protect us. It's all about protecting us, our emotions, our safety, all of these things. So our ego shrouds a lot of things that have happened to us, things that we really do know, but it doesn't want us to recognize it and to acknowledge it. Because it's that judgment of your ego's judgment. They don't want you to know about it. Now, maybe somebody else, their ego is going to maybe have a less shield around it, and they're going to get more information. Is that?
That explains a lot.
So they are walking among us. You bring that up. Our genetics, there's a lot of hybrids, lots and lots of mixes. Probably everybody in this room, otherwise you wouldn't even be in this room. You can't help it. If you decided, oh, I'm curious about MUFON, I mean, that's not really what it is. You were being downloaded. Be curious about MUFON. There's more for you to learn. That's why you showed up here. And that's why people come in as my clients, because they like gotten this message. I gotta do this session. I gotta have hypnosis. I gotta find out some stuff. So they're being directed to do it. And they're all, I call them golden thread connections. God's got them. And you had a question?
When are the ETs gonna get around to doing something about all these wars going on and
Yeah.
all this bad stuff?
Well, remember, they can't interfere. They can't interfere. They can, but they're not supposed to be interfering. And the cool thing about everybody in this room is that we're having disclosure. We don't need the government to do this. We're all doing it. And the more we talk about it, and the more we talk about it and the more we share with people and the more that Dolores's books get read and all of these others and Thor's information. Okay, now our two ladies that are here up in front that are open to questions. We gotta give them a hand, yeah, for being open to some questions. And you're gonna narrate this for us?
I'm a moderator.
Moderate, thank you.
So look at it.
I'll give you some room here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roxanne. You did awesome.
I hope it was helpful. This is all, I was told, you guys, the main thing with me coming today is that I was told that this is all about opening your hearts. It's a QHHT session. Yeah, it's informative, it's fun, it's all of these things. But the reason I'm doing it, they told me directly, it's to open your hearts.
Okay, everybody, thank you for coming out, especially our new people. Thank you for coming out. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you had a good time. We'll be back again next month, second Saturday of the month. We'll be hearing from Margie K. And who the heck is Thor? We'll be hearing about that next month. So until then, take good care of yourselves, everybody, and keep your eyes on the skies. Have a good night.